Hey guys, welcome to Legal Essentials, where we enlighten you on matters arising from the perspective of the law. And today we're going to be exploring statutory marriage under Nigerian law, double-decker marriage, what it is, and how to avoid it. And for this discussion, we have a very special guest. We have Mani, and we're going to be going through everything that marriage has to offer in Nigeria together. So
welcome everybody. My name is Mani, and I think this is going to be a very interesting topic. Very interesting.
I'm excited.
A lot of plot twists. Okay, let's go.
So Mani, what do you think marriage is?
First of all, let's come back home, right? Since we are talking about the Nigerian sphere, right? Marriage is a union, right, between a man and a woman. In Nigeria, get me right, because some people can say marriage is a union between two people. In Nigeria, it is a man and a woman.
Exactly.
However, it is slightly much more than just a union. It's a contract that has legal rights, legal obligations, and things, and duties and things like that. Yeah, that's what I think.
Okay, definitely that is what marriage encompasses, right? We have this this definition, this very classical definition of marriage that was gotten from the case of Hyde versus Hyde, that says that marriage is a voluntary union between a man and a woman, excluding all others. But that definition has been criticized and would be criticized in Nigeria because of different types of marriages we have. So we have marriage where it is a man and two women, or a man and more than one woman. And then like that definition doesn't hold water anymore.
But I think the interesting thing there is the keyword voluntary.
Yeah, exactly.
But you also know that in Nigeria, some are not voluntary.
That's why we say that definition doesn't really hold water, but it encompasses what marriage could be, basically. So it's the basic definition of marriage, and it makes sense. Yes,
True.
In a way.
True. Okay. So there's a very interesting plot twist about marriage in Nigeria.
Oh my God.
I read that, right? Not all marriages are equal or are made equal in the Nigerian law. The type of marriage that you enter into determines the type of law that applies to the marriage, and obviously if you want to end the marriage, how the marriage can end. Yes. But please, I feel a little bit off, because we are talking about ending the marriage. We are not encouraging divorce.
Definitely. But I feel like that leads us into the next part of the discussion, which is the types of marriages we have.
Right? Surely.
So from what she said, depending on what marriage you enter or how you enter into marriage, what particular vehicle you decide to use, it also depends on how the law would help you settle disputes and every other thing. So we have two broad definition or two broad types of marriages. We have customary law marriage, and in customary law marriage we also have Islamic marriage. And then we have statutory law marriage, marriage under the Act, legal marriage, however you want to call it.
Customary marriage in Nigeria. So I think that customary marriage is largely a type of marriage that is recognized under the customs and traditions of the parties involved. The customary marriage is very, very interesting in Nigeria. Ask me why.
Why?
Because there are some very key factors involved in this customary marriage. Let me start from the less controversial ones. Number one, obviously, you need people to witness the marriage ceremony. Number two, a much more controversial one, because Nigeria is very diverse in customs and tradition. In some places, you have where their customs permits them to have more than one wife. In fact, you can marry as many as you can. Really. And in some places, you can't, right? I don't think that's absolutely.
I think the thing with customary law marriage that differs from statutory law marriage, apart from it being custom and tradition, is that you are at liberty to marry more than one wife.
As a man,
that is polygamous.
Yes. But as a woman,
there's no marriage in Nigeria that allows you to marry more than one man.
Very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Then another very controversial part of it is, I think in okay, let me address it in Nigeria first. The aspect where you pay for dowry, let's say bride price, right? So in Nigeria, in some parts of the country, sometimes this causes issues. I mean, we've seen several times on social media where someone says, "I know they marry again. The bride price is too much." So in some places, it could be really, really exorbitante. I mean, you see crazy things on the list, and you're like, "Are they selling? Are they really going to? Am I buying this person or am marrying this person?"
Well, I think that's why it's customs and tradition. Right? Like, even in Nigeria, people don't know, but there is an option to not do customary marriage.
Oh, really?
You can just do. It is not. So when we talk about marriage in Nigeria, it is not customary marriage and statutory marriage. It is customary marriage or statutory marriage. So if you don't want to, as long as you are of age and you can tell your parents, "I don't care what you think about anything."
That's difficult.
I don't care that
in
you raised
Nigeria.
me. You can decide to just not do customary marriage, or you could go to a different part of anywhere, the country or the world, where their customs do not include like bride price. So it's not a do or die. But if you decide you want to marry an Igbo girl, you're going to do an Igbo customary marriage. Yeah.
Truly. Okay, so I mean, just to divulge just a little bit here. In India, do you know that the women pay the bride price to the men?
Yes.
And when you think about it, really, when you are looking at marriage holistically, what happens is that when you marry a woman, the man technically goes into that woman's family. This is like my personal opinion when I say so. Like, let's look at a family.
Is that what happens? It looks like the woman goes into the man's family.
Yes, that is what they say. But what happens in reality is that how many homes have you gone? I mean, this is personal opinion, right? How many homes have you gone that you see the man's people inside the house more than the woman's people?
I think that's how it is in my family.
Okay.
That I don't even know my mommy's people at all.
Oh, you don't know your mommy's people? It's more of your dad's people.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
But I mean, from my own perspective, where I come from is usually the women's people in the house or in the family more than the men's people. The men's people are like, "No, let's allow the guy." But the woman is technically in control of the house. So I mean,
but she's married into the family.
I know.
I guess in Nigeria, it is how it seems. That's why you're going to pay and say, "Oh, you've taken care of your daughter for this amount of years." But then now we as a family are taking her and changing her name, and she's now our daughter. And so we're going to give you compensation for all the time she took care of our wives.
Okay.
So I think that's the whole concept of bride price, and that's why it makes sense customarily. Yeah.
Okay.
Something else to note is that Islamic marriage falls under customary law marriage because it's traditional. So it is replaceable with customary law marriage. It is a marriage under customary law because Islam is a culture, a custom, tradition.
So basically, what I just learned now is that, right? Or I'm thinking right now because it's like the status quo is that you do marriage in the church, you do marriage. Traditional marriage.
Some people even go to
then you still go to courts. It's like, I mean, why do you have to? Okay, I mean, you are doing customary marriage, you are doing statutory marriage.
Doing so many marriages.
You are doing so many.
Tied for life. I think it's a status thing to show that I can bring out all this money, but it is not.
Do or die.
It's not logically even smart. Because why waste all this money when you're already married? Right? I understand that our parents and our family would want that customary marriage because it's what they are used to. And yes, I understand you wanting to do
in terms of religion,
white wedding with your friends, but it's not necessary.
But do you know, this is what I think of white wedding. White wedding is actually a traditional wedding for the white people.
Yes, but white wedding is
now associated to Christianity.
Yes, but Christianity, there's no marriage like Christianity marriage in Nigeria. So it is either under the law or under customs. So any other one you're doing is just because you want to.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yes. So the next marriage we are going to be talking on is statutory marriage.
Okay.
Statutory marriage is a legally recognized marriage.
Okay.
It is marriage under the law. It is marriage under the Act.
Okay.
It is governed by the Marriage Act in Nigeria.
Okay.
Yes. So this form of marriage is like, it is a monogamous way of marriage.
Okay.
It encompasses that definition we gave in the beginning, where it is voluntary, it is a union between a man and a woman, and it excludes every other person. So for a customary marriage to be done, it has to be done through a civil ceremony at a marriage registry or at a licensed place of worship. That's the only way a marriage will be legally recognized under the law. Either it is done at a place of worship that is recognized by the law, registered by the law, or at the courts. So any other marriage, you want at the beach, I don't know. It's not
okay. I mean, this is getting really interesting.
Yeah.
So when you say statutory marriage in quotes, it already sounds like, okay, the law upholds this one very high.
It does.
So but what then happens to our customary marriage? Because like, doesn't the law uphold it as high as the statutory marriage?
So customary law marriage or customary marriage, it is upheld by the customary laws. So the laws of the customs is what is recognized, and because the customs on the whole is very flexible, right? Customary law marriage is also really flexible. They have their rules, right? And that's why we said that the types of marriages you have is the way, like the type of rules you would have. It varies. It does vary. So yeah. Now, for statutory law marriage to be done, there are rules to be followed. There are steps and processes and procedures, and the first one is consent. So obviously, first of all, for a marriage to be held under statutory law, the two parties have to agree.
So these days we see a lot of engagement parties. You
cannot force somebody to say it and expect for the law to hold it as marriage. But also, from agreeing, they have to be of an age that can consent. So it has 21.
To be 21. The legal age is 21 in Nigeria.
It is. No, it's not marriageable age. Is 21 in Nigeria. So if you say two 18-year-olds consent, well, no, nobody cares, because they're not on. They don't have like the age of consent for marriage. But people that are not 21 do get married. And so how?
There is
a legal way. Like the law talks about everything. So if you or any of the parties happen to be less than 21, the parent has to come, like either the mom or the father of the person that is less than 21.
Now you take me back, because looking back into the customary laws, right? In some cases where, you know, they used to betroth people in some customs. When you are born as a kid, they've already told you which family or who you are going. So it was actually, I don't want to use the word transaction, but it was an understanding between the parents, because the children at that age are not up to the age of consent.
And that was customary. But here is statutory. If let's say I decide to get married, right? I'm not 21. I'd have to call my mom or my dad to write a written affidavit that will be submitted. Now, if I happen to not have parents, right? Because some people would be less than 21 and want to get married and not have parents. In that case, if you do not have a parent or you don't have a guardian, then the affidavit will have to be written by a governor or a judge of the High Court or state or federal court of Nigeria, or like any legal officer that is above secretary. So yes, they have to go and they will check that this marriage is correct, and then they will give their
own consent. That's interesting. So you did mention something, right?
Yes.
About beach marrying at the beach.
Well, it's not a legal place of worship. So I think what people do is they go
to courts
or they go somewhere, and that's what they are doing. Then
it's more of ceremony.
Just a celebration of
so it's to clear it, because some people may be thinking, oh, I want to have very cool marriage. Let's go to a garden. Let's go to the beach. Let's go to the mountain.
If they only do garden or beach and traditional, well, they are married on that traditional
law.
So if your husband decides I'm going to get another wife, and you say, oh, but we're married in church. No, you did not. No, you did not.
Okay, that's very interesting.
Exactly.
That's very interesting. So let's recap. Talking about statutory marriage, I would like to break it down a little bit. So statutory marriage simply means marriage under the the law or the act that covers all the laws, governing marriage in Nigeria, basically. This is outside the customary laws.
It is not customs.
It's not custom. It's just the law. So, I mean, we've talked about consent. Both parties need to consent, right?
Yeah.
And if you are below the age of 21, your parents need to consent. Or if you do not have parents,
we have said who can consent.
Yeah.
So these are sorry for cutting you.
Okay.
So these are steps to take.
Okay.
Right, for you to be able to have your marriage under the law or marriage under the act.
Okay.
Yes, and as I said, first thing is consent.
I think the second thing is notice of
marriage.
Notice of marriage. So notice of marriage. This is actually when two people that want to get married, at least one of the intending party, right, must send a notice to the marriage registrar in the court, in the district, obviously, where you want to get married. I think you have to pay some money also. You have to pay some money. You have to fill a form, pay some money, and say, I intend to get married to so person or on so date, right? The registrar takes it on and writes it on the marriage notice book.
So I think it's first important to state that after the name has been added to the marriage notice book, they would take the form or a copy of the form and they would paste it on the door for everybody to see. Okay. And this is done. This will be kept there for 3 months. Okay. And this is done so that anybody that has any qualms, objection, he's married me before, he has 5 children before, their sister and brother,
why are you gonna say shit?
Anyone, their brother and sister, their cousins, anyone, it has to be pasted there for 3 months. So after 21 days, within these 3 months, if everything is in order, the marriage registrar will give them a certificate that says you can get married. Okay. Now, on the clause, you have to be above 21.
Obviously.
And if you're not, your parents have to
consent for you, surely.
Now, any one of the party to this marriage has to have lived in the place, in this district where you want to get married for at least 15 days. Okay. Yes. The third clause was that there will be no legal or family or any other boundary that would cause them, that would be the reason why the married couple could not get married. Okay. And the last one is that neither of the two parties
should already be married under customary law.
So it's upholding that value of we are monogamous. So even if you've married before under customary law, you cannot get married again. Under statutory law. Only under customary law.
Unless and in customary law,
unless you get divorced, you can get divorced in customary law.
Okay, good. So we've talked about notice of marriage, right? Yes. So the next thing to look at is more like the validity of notice.
Of this notice, exactly. Basically, it's stating that after 3 months of the filing of this notice, if no action has been taken, so no marriage has been done, nothing has been done with the notice, it would become invalid. Okay. And then you have to start again.
All over again.
Yes, so if you got a certificate or a notice to go ahead with your marriage,
you must do it within a 3 months
period. And if you do not and you end up still getting married, your marriage is not valid.
Okay.
Yes. So basically that's what it is. So under the act, we have 2 places that are acceptable, like we've been saying, by the law for marriage. And the first one is
first of all, let me break it down. You know, the reason why most Nigerians, right, do not know the Nigerian law in depth is because there's a lot of act, section, confusing things. So when you say act, please be much more elaborate.
So we have statutory law marriage, and it is marriage under the law. The law that governs statutory law marriage is called the Marriage Act.
Fine. So basically you're saying that there are sections in the Marriage Act, right,
that you can go and see where you can actually get married. So the specified places that you can get married in, because those things matter. If you get married under statutory law in a place that is not recognized by law as a place for you to get married under statutory law, the marriage is invalid. So section 21 of the Marriage Act basically says that, right, for marriage to be recognized by the law, right, it has to be conducted in a licensed place of worship, where the pastor or the officiating minister follows their rights. First of all, where the officiating minister is licensed, right, and
obviously they follow their doctrine.
Basically, exactly.
Yeah. And also it has to be conducted in an open door, right? So that, I mean, it's everybody should see what we are doing in here.
There has to be at least 2 witnesses.
Yes, they must have at least 2 witnesses, and it has to be within the time frame of 8 a.m. and 6 p.m.
So after that, I don't know who is getting you married, but it's not the law. You have to, at least the whole marriage ceremony, the act of, oh, you are now married under the law, must be done between those hours,
8
and then
8 a.m. and 6 p.m. Yes. So did you know that if you get married, or if you go to the church after 8 p.m.
and say, please marry me,
please marry me,
no, let's come the next day, because
no. Yeah. Okay.
So I think because people's marriages stay longer than that sometimes.
Yeah.
But the whole thing,
the main thing where the commune or the union has been
taking place,
happens in between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m.
Exactly.
Then you can go and party. It's usually the celebration that takes longer time.
And now Section 27 of this Marriage Act, it also allows for marriage to be done in the registry.
Okay.
So instead of doing
in case of doing it in a place of worship,
you can do it in the registry. Now, for this to happen, you have to have at least 2 witnesses.
2 witnesses, yeah, surely.
As well.
I think 10 a.m. to 4 p.m.
4 p.m.
Yeah.
Yes. So after 4 p.m. you can't
marry the registry.
Nobody's going to get you
Work has closed.
Work has closed, basically. Yes.
Okay.
So now we're going to clear some very common, very done misconception. Everybody is doing this mistake.
Really?
And I
find it very, 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 very funny.
Yeah.
But I think it is status quo. Or like
how it has always been.
Let's follow the pack.
Yes.
Okay.
So basically, you know how people do traditional wedding, and then they do white wedding, and then they take their parents to the court. They do all these weddings, and if they could, they would do beach wedding and add kids as well. Okay. Well, basically, under the law, statutory marriage can only be done, like we've said. We've been saying it since by
court or licensed place of worship.
Yes. Yeah. If you decide to get married both in a court and
licensed place of worship, that means you are basically doing 2 statutory marriage.
And it's not possible.
It's not.
So you are wasting your money on one. It's called a double-decker marriage.
Yeah.
You can do traditional marriage and one of the 2.
Okay.
But you're doing all 5 or all 3 or all 4. I mean, if you want to show that you love this person so much, do what you want to do.
I mean,
but you can save money on your go on your honeymoon with the money you save.
Really,
right?
I think that's a better spend of your money.
Put money under your rent, something like that, if you want to spend money.
So generally in Nigeria, people will say a court wedding, they will say church wedding, they will say traditional wedding. But after this conversation, this is what I think. Customary law marriage, that's traditional wedding,
is doable.
Then we have statutory marriage, which is either you do it in the court or in the church. So when you are doing church wedding, court wedding,
white, blue, all the weddings you want to do, just don't pick 2, do the 2 well, make it extravagant, and save your money for the rest.
And a lot of partying afterwards.
A lot of partying afterwards. Now that we've spoken about what makes a marriage valid, we're going to talk about what makes a marriage invalid.
Yes. And then null and void, because they're actually 2 different things.
A marriage can be invalid and a marriage can be
null and void. Yeah, truly.
So, invalid. A marriage would be deemed invalid if a party is already married under customary law. And so the marriage under customary law to another person automatically invalidates any statutory marriage you want to do, except you dissolve the customary law marriage as it should have been. Yes. Now, a marriage would be null and void if they know that the marriage is done in an unauthorized place.
And I also think that if they false names, they both present false names.
The third one is if the person or if the officiating minister or if the person officiating the marriage is not authorized.
Okay. Let's recap. When you say unauthorized location. I know, I mean, a lot of us, we have fantasia of where we would like to get married. I keep bringing this up. Make sure that you have done your marriage.
Do your white wedding, right, in the authorized place of worship. Before you
go to beach.
Yes,
or garden.
Or if you don't want to do that, the law accommodates you as well and says, okay, you can get a special license under section 13 of the Marriage Act. Now, unauthorized person, I guess you better ask your pastor if he went to the courts and if he
has a license or permit.
Now, if you guys don't have that notice, if you guys did not get certificate from the registrar and you decide to still get married, your marriage is invalid. No, actually, it's not invalid.
It's null and void.
So yes. So recapping, basically, unauthorized place, unauthorized person. You didn't get that notice, or you decided to use like a false name. All that to make your marriage null and void. In conclusion,
I mean, it has been a very, very interesting conversation. I myself have learned some new things I didn't know. Okay, so I mean, marriage in Nigeria is interesting.
It is.
But we've had a lot of misconceptions in the past. I hope by watching this video,
we've saved you some money.
Yeah, a lot of money.
Because now you can just tell your parents, your friends, mommy and daddy, let's go to the courts and you can get married. You don't even have to do traditional marriage, right? You are still married.
Yeah.
Right? You can tell your future wife's parents, like, I'm not giving you any money. I didn't send you any message. I'm only going to the courts with this girl. You can
Good luck. Good luck. Good luck with that.
Good luck.
And also subscribe to the channel, like this video. We would actually like to hear your comments.
And just in case your marriage doesn't work, nobody's praying that your marriage does not work, but if it doesn't, right, just sending over the divorce papers. It doesn't work like that in Nigeria, and we're going to discuss that later. So if you want to know, since now you know how to really get married in Nigeria, if you want to know how to handle divorce in Nigeria, stick around, subscribe, turn on your post notifications so you know when we upload a new video. Like, tell us
Thank you
what
for your time. No, continue.
Like, tell us what you've learned, or what you don't agree with, or what you would do better.
Yeah, it's a conversation. Yeah, and I think we'll all learn from each other. One thing that I really want to reiterate is that, see, before now, Nigerians, I mean, do not get me wrong.
Yeah.
A lot of people know the law, but most Nigerians don't know the tiny little things about the law. Because even for me, once you start saying act this, section this, I'm like, I don't want all that information. But the purpose of this channel is to break down it, just break in the simplest form, so that we can all get to understand our laws. So thank you very much.
That's all. I'm Grace.
And my name is Manny.
This is Legal Essentials. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Yes.